November 11, 2021. A Thursday night. Memphis was still breathing under its own weight. In Nutbush, a neighborhood north of downtown, the lights were low, and the streets sat in silence. A kind of silence that didn't feel peaceful. It felt loaded. The kind that hums with something you can't name, but your body feels it anyway. Prince Avenue was one of those quiet streets. Houses with tired porches, cars that hadn't moved in days, chain-link fences sagging under the years. People stayed inside. Doors stayed locked. You could almost hear the city holding its breath. At 9:17 p.m., that breath broke. A 911 call cracked through dispatch. Urgent. A car was parked along the curb. Inside, a woman wasn't responding. When officers arrived, they didn't need to search. They found the vehicle, sitting there like it had been forgotten by time. The headlights were off. The windows were rolled up. The engine was still. In the back seat, a young black woman lay slumped to one side. Head turned. Skin gone cold. There was no movement, no sound, just the smell of death clinging to upholstery. One bullet to the head. That's all it took. No struggle. No broken glass. No footprints leading away. Just the stillness of a life that had ended too cleanly. Her name was Jerriny Caples. She was 26 years old. A mother. A sister. A woman who had spent her years raising nephews like they were her own. Someone who showed up. Someone who stayed. Someone who didn't deserve to end like this. The badge numbers blurred together. Officers moved through the scene, securing it with tape, but they already knew this wasn't random. Whoever did this didn't panic. They didn't flee. They walked away from that car like it was nothing. A doorbell camera 2 houses down captured the shape of a person leaving the scene. No running. No glance back. Just a slow, steady walk into the dark. The kind of walk that says, "I've done this before." No face. No name. No arrest. Just a grainy silhouette and a family about to be broken. The news didn't reach the public right away. But inside that neighborhood, word spread like wildfire. Somebody shot that girl on Prince. She was in her own car. She was a good one. Memphis had lost another one. And no one knew who took her. Hours later, her sister would get the news. Her father would stand behind the tape. A family that had shared breakfast that morning was about to face the kind of night that never ends. 3 years have passed since that call. 3 years of silence, dead leads, cold footage, and questions that still hang over Prince Avenue like fog. Her father still walks those same blocks, hoping to spot a face that matches the one in the video. Her sister still plays old voicemails, trying to hold on to a voice she'll never hear again. And the person who pulled the trigger? Still out there. In Memphis, the streets never forget. But sometimes they stay silent. Too silent. Before we enter into today's story, I need you to do something for me. Look at your phone. See that little red subscribe button? Here's the thing. The algorithm only shows these stories to people who engage. And every case I cover, every victim I fight for, every family I give a voice to, it all depends on you hitting that button. Because the dead can't speak for themselves. But we can speak for them. So subscribe now. Turn on notifications. Because what you're about to hear will change how you think, and will make you question why people can be very ungrateful. Before the 911 call. Before a bullet changed everything, there was just a girl named Jerriny. She was 26, but her eyes carried years beyond her age. Not because life had broken her, but because she carried people. And carrying people makes you older, faster. In every photo, she smiled like she meant it. Not a plastic grin. A full smile, the kind that lifted her cheeks, squinted her eyes, and made anyone near her feel safe. That's who she was, warm, rooted, present. She wasn't just a mother. She was the kind of woman who became one without being asked. When her family needed her, she stepped up. 2 nephews, boys with years ahead and struggles behind, were placed in her care. And she didn't hesitate. No fuss. No questions. She just loved them. Fed them. Got them to school. Protected them like they were hers. Because to her, they were. She had a way with kids. Always did. Friends said she lit up around them. Nieces, nephews, neighborhood toddlers. If a child cried, she was the first one kneeling down, wiping tears, making silly faces until laughter returned. But Jerriny wasn't just nurturing. She was real. She posted her joy online, but she didn't hide her pain. Her Facebook page wasn't curated for attention. It was a digital diary, raw and open. There were quotes about loyalty, warnings about betrayal, and pieces of her heart scattered in every caption. She posted about love, messy love, hopeful love, the kind that survives time and separation. And always, there was one name that kept showing up. A man. Someone she called her Maine. Someone who'd spent 4 years behind bars while she waited outside, keeping things steady. There's one post that stands still among the rest. It reads like a love letter sealed in static. I can't believe it's 7 years for us. 4 years in jail with you was all worth it. These been the best 4 months since your feet hit the concrete. 4 years locked up. 4 months back in her arms. She stayed. She didn't walk away like people told her she should. She believed in him. Believed in the life they said they'd build together once the gates opened. She wasn't naive. She wasn't blind. She was loyal. And loyalty in neighborhoods like Nutbush is a currency. It's how people measure your worth. She had plenty of it. Not just to her man, but to her blood. Her boys. Her people. She didn't hide who she loved. She celebrated it. Her page was filled with pictures, family gatherings, kids on her lap, a birthday cake with her name scrawled across it in red frosting. Even in struggle, there was light. This was Jerriny before the murder. Before the silence. Before the doorbell footage. Just a young woman in Memphis trying to do right, trying to keep promises, trying to hold together a life stretched thin. She wasn't famous. She wasn't a headline. She was just someone who mattered. To her sister Candace. To her father Jerry. To 2 boys who knew her as Mama. To a neighborhood that never forgot her smile. That's who was taken when someone pulled the trigger. And that's who the streets of Memphis still owe answers for. There is a kind of loyalty that doesn't make sense on paper. The kind that survives steel bars, late-night phone calls from a number labeled correctional facility, and birthdays missed year after year. Jerriny Caples lived that kind of loyalty. For 4 years, she waited. While Ronaldo Wright sat behind bars, she stayed outside building a life that would be ready for him the day he walked free. She didn't flinch. Didn't fold. She loved him like freedom was coming. While other girls chased comfort, she chose consistency. She raised boys who weren't her own. Worked jobs that didn't pay enough. Came home tired and still made time to pick up the phone when his 15-minute call came through. For years. For full years of promises. Of holding her breath and writing her heart out on Facebook like the world needed to know what real love looked like. And when he finally walked out of prison, Memphis saw her smile wider than anyone. That wasn't just a man coming home. That was her sacrifice showing up in flesh and blood. Family pulled out phones. They filmed it. They shouted, "Welcome home," while she stood in the middle like someone who had won something rare. That wasn't a reunion. That was the ending of a drought. She posted what she felt, raw and public. 4 years in jail with you was all worth it. These been the best 4 months since your feet hit the concrete. 4 years bought her 4 months. That was the trade. That's all she got before the bullet. Those months were everything to her. She wore them like a badge. He was finally home. They could start over. But time doesn't keep promises. And love, no matter how loud you write it on your page, doesn't always come back clean. People say love is blind. But Jerriny wasn't blind. She saw who he was. She just thought she could handle it. She thought what they had was stronger than whatever demons waited on the outside. She believed in second chances because no one had ever offered her one. But here's the thing. Some men don't come back healed. They come back hungry, angry, hiding the weight of prison behind the mask of charm. And by the time you realize what's behind the smile, you're already too deep to pull back. No one's saying Ronaldo pulled the trigger. No one's saying he didn't. But after 4 years of loyalty, Jerriny got 4 months and a grave. And in the quiet that followed her death, the celebration videos looked different. The Facebook posts felt colder. The reunion wasn't beautiful anymore. It felt like a countdown. The truth is, Jerriny built a bridge for someone who might have never planned to walk it with her. She loved a man who had already made peace with chaos. She waited for someone who maybe never deserved her in the first place. And in the end, that love didn't save her. It buried her. It started like nothing was wrong. The morning of November 11th, 2021, came in soft. Memphis was quiet and so was she. No warning. No signs. Just another Thursday in a city that had seen too many of them end badly. Inside her home, the boys moved through their routines. Shoes by the door. Cereal on the counter. School bags hanging where they always did. She moved through the morning like any other mother would, half tired, half focused, all love. Making sure their faces were clean. Their socks matched. That they made it out the door with breakfast in their bellies and peace in their hearts. She was raising them the right way, even if life around them wasn't. After the drop-off, her phone buzzed. It was Candace. A quick call, nothing unusual. Sisters don't always need deep conversations, just a check-in. She told her she'd be running an errand after school. Something about shoes. Said it like it was nothing. Like she'd be back soon. There was no crack in her voice. No fear. No goodbye that felt like a goodbye. Just another call. Just another Thursday. Surveillance cameras would later show her car moving through Memphis. Street after street, stoplight after stoplight. Not fast. Not slow. Just steady. Purposeful. Like she knew where she was going. Like someone was waiting. There were no signs of struggle. No sharp turns. No U-turns or detours. She wasn't lost. She wasn't afraid. That's what makes it worse. Somewhere between daylight and dark, she met up with someone. Whether it was about shoes or something else, no one really knows. What matters is that by sundown, she had stopped answering her phone. Candace called once. No answer. Twice. Nothing. 3 times. Still silence. That wasn't like her. Jerriny didn't just vanish. Especially not when the boys were still waiting. By nightfall, worry became panic. And panic became motion. Candace drove to her house. But when she pulled into the neighborhood, the lights weren't normal. There were flashing reds and blues bouncing off the windows. Police cars blocked the street. Yellow tape stretched across the road like a warning you never want to see. They told her to stay back. That her sister's car had been found. That there was a body in the back seat. Security footage from a nearby doorbell camera would later confirm what police already suspected. There was no shootout. No chase. Just one figure, stepping out of her car, walking down the street like it was nothing. Steady. No rush. No fear. No reason to run. Whoever it was knew what they were doing. No words. No flinch. No face. Just a quiet shadow walking away from the place where her life ended. The last time she was seen alive, she was behind the wheel of her car. The last time her name was spoken in the present tense, it was on that morning call with her sister. After that, time kept moving, but she didn't. Her final day didn't look like a warning. It looked like any other. That's what makes it so hard to breathe. Candace knew something was wrong long before anyone said it out loud. By the 6th missed call, her chest had already started to tighten. By the 7th, she was pacing. Not frantic yet, but close. Her sister always answered. Boys. Especially when the boys were home. Especially when it was getting dark. Memphis was the kind of place where silence wasn't just silence. It was a signal. And when someone like Jerriny went quiet, it didn't feel normal. It felt final. Candace grabbed her keys and left the house. She didn't know what she was driving into, just that she had to see for herself. Her sister's house was only 15 minutes away. But every stoplight dragged. Every block stretched into something heavy. And when she turned onto the street, everything stopped. Flashing lights. Blue. Yellow tape pushed out into the road like a line between what was and what now is. Patrol cars lined the street. Neighbors stood on their porches, still and quiet, watching. She didn't have to ask what happened. She just had to look at the car. It was hers. Parked crooked. Still. No broken glass. No open door. Just stillness. A kind that made the stomach turn. Police kept her back. She wasn't allowed to get close. But she knew. The pain didn't come all at once. It started with numbness. The kind that lives behind your ribs and doesn't leave for years. Somewhere nearby, her father Jerry was arriving too, walking into a nightmare no father should ever have to see. Detectives spoke in low voices. Faces were grim, controlled. But grief has its own language, and Candace could already read it. She was gone. The medical examiner's report would come later. Official words on cold paper: single gunshot wound to the head. Close range. No hesitation. Whoever did it had been right there, face to face, weapon steady, decision made. It didn't look like robbery. It didn't look random. It looked personal. But nothing explained why. Candace replayed the day in her head. The morning call. The quiet tone. The mention of going to meet someone for shoes. All of it seemed so harmless then. Now every second felt like a missed clue. The police moved through the scene like clockwork. Measuring. Recording. Bagging evidence. But none of it could tell her what she really needed to know. What happened inside that car? Did she see it coming? Did she have time to scream? Or was it over before she even realized what was happening? Grief didn't scream that night. It just sat heavy, like weight in the lungs, like a world that had lost its color. Jerriny had done everything right. Raised children that weren't hers. Stayed loyal to a man most wouldn't have waited for. She gave people her heart, and someone answered with a bullet. Now her car was a crime scene. And the girl with the loud laugh and the soft hands was gone. When voices fall silent, machines keep talking. After the scene was cleared, after the body was taken, the questions began. And Memphis police turned to the only place left where time doesn't lie: her phone. Every second of that day was now under review. Call logs, text threads, voicemails, location pings. Who she spoke to, what she said, who said something back. There were no missed alarms. No final cry for help. Just an ordinary string of activity that gave no hint that her last day would be her last at all. In the hours before her death, there were no arguments. No digital fights. No panic messages. The records were frustratingly quiet. Too quiet. Her texts from earlier that week were full of life. Conversations with friends, check-ins about the boys, casual mentions of running errands. And then there was him. His name showed up in old messages. The same man she waited 4 years for. The one she called her main. But nothing in those texts said danger. Not directly. Just love and loyalty. That's the trick with digital evidence. It doesn't feel. It doesn't scream. It just sits there, showing you exactly what happened without telling you what it means. Then came the doorbell footage. A single camera. One house down. One lucky angle. It didn't show the murder. But it caught what came after. Her car, parked on the street. The door opening. The figure stepping out. No rush. No fear. Just a person walking away like the night still belonged to them. The clip was grainy, but the shape was clear. Not a shadow. A real body. Calm posture. Certain steps. A killer with no reason to run. Police froze the frames. Studied the gait. The clothes. The way the head tilted. They released it to the public, hoping someone would recognize the walk, the outline, the way the person moved through space like they owned it. But no name came forward. Her phone had one last ping, near the place where she was found. After that, silence. Like someone had turned her off. Like she never existed beyond that point. Investigators kept digging. Into her DMs. Her calls. Her Facebook posts. One message in particular kept echoing. These been the best 4 months since your feet hit the concrete. It was supposed to be a love story. Instead, it became a timestamp. Even with footage, even with data, the picture refused to focus. There was no confession hiding in her call history. No goodbye in her messages. No stranger she didn't know walking out of her car. That's what made it worse. Technology had given them a piece of the truth, but not the face behind it. Not the reason. Not the name. And sometimes, that's the hardest part of murder in the modern age. You can trace every step, watch every second, and still not know who pulled the trigger. Nutbush was used to sirens, used to hearing gunshots echo between corner stores and back porches. But this one hit different. Jerriny wasn't trouble. She wasn't caught in the streets. She wasn't chasing drama. She was raising kids, posting quotes, making plans. She was one of the good ones. And still, she ended up in the back seat of her own car, shot in the head, found on a street she knew by heart. Memphis ended 2021 with over 340 homicides. A record year. The kind of number that makes headlines, until the names behind those numbers stop being said out loud. In neighborhoods like Nutbush, it's not unusual to know someone who was killed. It's more unusual to know someone whose killer was caught. When police canvassed the block, people peeked through blinds. Doors cracked open, then closed again. Officers went door to door, asking questions. Most people said they hadn't seen anything. A few said they weren't home. One or two said they heard a car drive off, but nothing more. One man, who lived just a few houses down, stood on his porch and stared at the yellow tape for over an hour before finally speaking. "How do you kill someone in their car and walk away?" he asked, not to police, just to the air. That question hung over the street like smoke. No one answered. Police released the doorbell footage to the public days later. The clip showed someone walking away from her car, calm and unbothered. Not running. Not hiding. Just leaving like they had done what they came to do. They posted it on every platform. Showed it at community meetings. Shared stills. Offered a $1,000 reward through Crime Stoppers. Promised anonymity. Promised safety. Promised it would only take one voice to break the silence. But no voice came. The no-snitch rule was alive and well. In neighborhoods like Nutbush, silence is survival. People keep their heads down, not because they don't care, but because they've seen what happens when you speak up. You lose more than your peace. Sometimes you lose your life. To the streets, loyalty is everything. To her family, it's a cage. Her sister kept asking how no one saw it happen. How a woman could be murdered in her car, on a quiet block, and not one person had anything to say. The answer was loud in its silence. The streets had made a decision. They'd rather bury the truth than risk digging it up. And in that silence, Jerriny's name faded from headlines, but not from the hearts of the people who still wait for a knock on the door with real answers. Some people mourn in silence. Others in prayer. Jerriny Caples mourns with footsteps. Every morning, he laces his shoes and heads back to Prince Avenue, the same street where his daughter took her last breath. Not to relive it. Not to punish himself. But because he has to. Because she never came home and someone out there did. He walks with no camera crew. No police escort. No headlines chasing him down. Just him, a worn pair of shoes, and the memory of a daughter who trusted the wrong hands. The neighborhood knows his face now. Some wave. Some look away. But they see him. The man with the quiet eyes, the hard shoulders, and the grief that clings to him like smoke. He walks the blocks near the scene, again and again. Looking. Watching. Listening for any detail that might have been missed. A face. A pattern. A voice that slips. He studies body language like it's evidence. Watches the way people move. The way they avoid his eyes. Because someone in this city knows what happened. And he refuses to let them forget. He told reporters once, "Every morning I wake up thinking about that video. I walk those streets." That doorbell footage is burned into his mind. A shadow walking away. Confident. Untouched by guilt. It replays in his sleep, over coffee, when he's sitting in traffic, when he blinks too long. He doesn't just want justice. He wants truth. Real names. Real consequences. Because this wasn't just another murder in Memphis. This was his baby girl. His flesh. His responsibility, and the one thing he couldn't protect. The system did what it could. Case files. Interviews. Press releases. But systems get tired. They move on. Fathers don't. He walks to remember. He walks to fight. He walks because standing still feels too close to giving up. And every step he takes is a question aimed at the city that raised them both. Why is she gone? And why is her killer still breathing free air? Her name was Jerriny Caples. She loved loudly, waited patiently, raised boys that weren't hers, and died alone in the back seat of her own car because someone decided she didn't deserve another sunrise. It's been 3 years. The police still don't have a name. The footage still plays, frame by frame, showing a figure walking away. Unbothered. Unknown. But maybe someone watching this knows something. Maybe there was a conversation. A rumor. A slip. A face you recognized in that doorbell footage. Maybe you saw the car. Heard the shot. Maybe silence felt safer at the time. But silence has stolen enough. If you know something, anything, you can call Memphis Crime Stoppers at 9015282274. You don't have to give your name. You don't have to show your face. You just have to give her back what was taken, the truth. $1,000 won't change what happened. But it might stop it from happening again. Candace still waits. Her voice shaking when she says her sister's name. Jerry still walks those streets, one foot in front of the other, asking questions into a city that rarely answers.